Good morning, students. This is Anjali, Assistant Professor, Department of CAC, AIML, IARE, Hyderabad. Today's our topic name is Importance of Communication with 7c's. In previous class, we have seen that verbal communication. And in that, we have covered that about the verbal communication, its types, then advantages of the verbal communication, improving the verbal communication. The first we have seen that what is verbal communication? Actually, verbal communication is the technique where we are presenting our thoughts very effectively in front of the audience. And at that time, while talking or while communicating, we are keeping our tone. We are keeping our tone very politely. That means we are thinking about the tone, then speed, volume, all things we have to think. Then after that, we have seen that the types of the verbal communication. Types of verbal communication means there are 4 types. First is that the interpersonal communication. Then second one is the interpersonal communication. Then third one is that the small group communication, and the fourth one is the public communication. In interpersonal communication, we will talk with ourselves and we will think about our thoughts. That means we will analyze about us. Then interpersonal communication, we will talk to other people. That means there is a communication between the 2 people or 2 person. Then after that, the small group communication, that means we can take the example of the group discussion. Just we can take example of the group discussion. That means we are conveying our messages, our thoughts between the groups. Then after that, the public communication, that means we are giving the speech, or we will give the speech in front of the audience, and we will convey our thoughts in front of the audience. Then after that, the advantages of the verbal communication. If we will talk about, we are talking about the verbal communication. This technique, verbal communication, is very effective for us. It is very advantageous for us. So, with the help of the verbal communication, it will increase our confidence. It will help to provide. It will help to convey our message to other people. Then improving the verbal communication. Improving how to improve our verbal communication. So, in verbal communication, you have to think about your tone. Then, speed while talking. While talking, you should think about the speed also. That means the people or audience should understand very properly. And after that, volume. Your voice should be clear. Your volume should be clear. Your volume should reach to that person particularly. So, this is all about we have seen verbal communication. Now we will see the 7c's. We will cover 7c's of communication, importance of the verbal communication, and the communication process. Now, 7c's of communication. The 7c's of communication is a checklist that helps to improve the professional communication skill and increases the chance that the message will be understood in exactly the same way as it was the intended. So by using the 7c's of communication, it will help to improve our professional communication skill. It will increase the chances that whatever you want to convey the message, that message can understand the audience. So there are 7c's. That means we can say the correct, complete, concrete, concise, consideration, courteous, and the clear. These are your 7c's. And these 7c's are very important while communication. So first we will see clear. The message should be clear and easily understandable to the recipient. The purpose of communication should be clear to understand. Then only the receiver will be sure about it. The message should emphasize on a single goal at a time and shall not cover several ideas in a single sentences. Actually, your message should be very clear, and that message should be understandable to the recipient. Whatever we are conveying, we are trying to say, that message should be clear. So sender also should know the why they are sending the message. That means what is the purpose of sending the message, and after if you have the clarity about sending the message, so receiver will understand very clearly. It will be very easy for understand for the receiver also. And your message also should very single goal at the same time. In this same message, at the same time, there should be a single goal. So it it will be very easy for understanding to your audience also. Then second one is that the correct message should be correct. That means we can say that the correct language should be used, and the sender must ensure that there is no grammatical and spelling mistakes. Also, the message should be exact and well timed. The correct messages have a greater impact on the receiver. At the same time, the morale of the sender increases with accurate message. Actually, whatever message you are sending, the message should contain correct language. That should not contain any grammatical or spelling mistake also. So message should be exactly well timed. That means it should reach on the time, and that correct message will impact on the receiver, and at the same time it will increase the morale of the sender also. So after that, third one is the complete. The message should be complete. That is, it must include all the relevant information as required by the intended audience. The complete information gives answer to all the questions of the receivers and help in better decision making by the recipient. If you send the complete message, that means if you have sent the relevant information to the recipient, so complete information can give the answers of the every question, and it will help to the recipient for taking the decision. Then after that, concrete. Your communication should be concrete, which means the message should be clear and particularly such that no room for misinterpretation is left. And all the facts and figures should be clearly mentioned in a message so as to substantiate to whatever the sender is saying. Your message should be very clear, and there should not be any room for the misinterpretation. And all facts and the figures should be very clearly mentioned in your message. Then after that, next one is the concise. The message should be precise and to the point. The sender should avoid the lengthy sentences and try to convey the subject matter in the least possible words. The short and brief message is more comprehensive and helps in retaining the receiver's attention. If you have mentioned particular points, so sender is very helpful. But that means that sender can help to the recipient. That sender should not keep the lengthy sentences. If he will not keep the lengthy sentences, that means that sender can convey the subject matter in the least words. So short, your message should be short and brief, but it should be very comprehensive, and it will help to the receiver attention. Then after that, the consideration. The sender must take into the consideration the receiver's opinions, knowledge, mindset, and background in order to have an effective communication. In order to communicate, the sender must relate to the target recipient and be involved. Actually, the sender must take the stake into the consideration. That means it should think about the receiver's opinions, knowledge, what is the mindset and what is the background. So it will help to communicate in very effectively. And sender must again, they should relate about the target recipient. Then seventh is that courteous. It implies the sender must take into the consideration both the feelings and viewpoints of the receiver, such that the message is positive and focused at the audience. Your message should be very positive, and here you communicator or sender should be focused on the audience. Then message should not be biased and must include the terms and show respect for the recipient. So these are the 7C's. Every 7C's, every 7C is very important. Every C is very important while communication. Then we will say that importance of the verbal communication. The verbal communication can play a significant role in workplace. It's essential to conduct a meeting, make presentation, or hold a personal conversation. Actually, verbal communication play a very important role in our professional life. It is help to conduct the meeting. It is help to present in front of the audience. Then again, it can help to hold the personal conversation also. Effective verbal communication usually goes beyond the talking and may encompass how you deliver messages and how you receive them. Generally, effective verbal communication is explaining that how you deliver the messages and how you will receive the messages. And you can take the close look at the significance of the oral communication below. Then first one is that helps you express yourself. Using different type of the verbal communication may help you express your ideas, thoughts, emotions and experiences. Then this can help you reflect on your individual strength. For example, you may define yourself as a determined, collaborative or patient. Then it's important to tell others your strength, priorities and expectations, especially if you are going to work with them. And once team members know your working style and your abilities, they may help you settle into your new role. So first advantage is saying that it will really help you for expressing your ideas, thoughts, emotion and so many experiences also. It will help to build your strength. For example, determined, collaborative, patient. Then another thing is that it will tell about your strength. What are your priorities? What are you are expecting from the work? Then again, because of this, once team members know about your style and abilities, so they will help you settle into your new role in the new job. Then second one is that organize the complex ideas. As you work, you may have a lot of ideas about your task, deadline and priorities. Then communicating ideas aloud with a team member can help you simplify multiple thoughts into a clear message. Actually, if you are organizing the complex ideas, so here we can think about our deadlines, then priorities, and your communicating ideas should be convey to audience and your team members also. So when you organize or lead work project, your team members may appreciate your ability to express the complex ideas well. And you can also use this skill when explaining ideas to clients or business partners. So this is about the organizes complex ideas. Then third one is that helps you think. Verbal communication can also help you reason and make decisions for the future. Using your mind, you can recount your past job history, consider your present role, and ponder about your future opportunities. So this can benefit you in the workplace. For example, you can use verbal communication to reflect on the past to improve your performance in the future. So verbal communication generally help you for the reasoning, then to take the decisions for which are very useful for our future, and even you can recount your past job history. You have to consider about present role. You can ponder about your future opportunities, and you can use this verbal communication for reflecting on the past and for improving your performance in the future. Then fourth one is that influences your mood. The way you communicate or use oral language may also impact your mood. How you or your supervisor communicate may influence your perspective and attitude towards your current job. For example, you may feel happy when supervisor acknowledges your contribution to your team. Then what you say can also affect the attitudes of others in your team or workplace. For example, you praise the work of the others, they can feel happier and enjoy their work more. So here you can use oral language for impacting your mood. That means you can think you can think about your attitude. You can change your attitude towards your current job. For example, just we have given that you can feel the happy if someone is acknowledging your contribution. Again, what you say can also affect the attitude of other your team. Even if you praise the work of the others, so they can feel happy and they can enjoy doing a work with you. Then after that, the provides the clarity. Verbal communication can also provide the clarity which may improve the connection and drive engagement. People can remember information more easily when someone presents it directly to them or when they watch someone perform a task in front of them. During a group meetings or training session, participants may ask questions and get immediate response, which helps them to understand the task at the hand or situation. So here, again, by using the verbal communication, we can provide the clarity. So it will help to improve the connection and drive engagement. Here, people can remember the information, whatever you have present directly to them. And during the group meeting or training session, participant can ask some questions, and we can give the immediate response to them, which will help to understand the task and situation. Then sixth one is that increases the motivations. Words of acknowledgement or appreciation from the manager can boost the confidence level of individual member and increase the productivity. Hearing an encouraging speech usually seems more genuine than reading an interpersonal email. Verbal communication can also make your team members feel valued and better understood. For example, in-person meeting can provide the workers with the opportunity to share their concerns with the management or the colleagues. Such regular group meetings, discussions with workers can foster team spirit. Work of acknowledgement, or we can say that the appreciation from the manager will help to increase your confidence level or increase the individual members of your team. So if your confidence level increase, that means the productivity of the company will increase. And hearing encouraging speech, definitely it will increase our confidence. It will give the energy to us to do your work very passionately. So verbal communication make your team member feel valued, and it will help to understand them. Then next one is the saves time. When working in a team or group, the leader usually assigns tasks to the members and communicates the expectations. Giving instructions verbally, as opposed to writing a memo or email, can help you communicate the brief and objectives properly and clarify any issues before team members start their work. Everyone can understand what you are saying and agree, saving you all time. So, when working with the team, if you are working with the teams, here leader generally assigns the task to every members, and that leader will expect something output from the team members. So after giving the instructions, that means we are giving the instruction, that leader will give the instruction verbally, and but he or she will communicate brief and objectives properly, and it will clarify the issues in front of the team members and before starting your work. So everyone can understand what you are saying and how they you are saying, what they want to do, and they are agree or not. So after all these, it will be help to save our time. Then now we will see the communication process. The communication process refers to a series of the action or steps being taken in order to facilitate successful communication between two or more people. Actually, communication process is one of the series of the action or some steps which we have to take for facilitating the successful communication between two or more people. And dynamic process involves several components, including the sender of the communication, then conceptualization of the ideas, message being encoded, sent through the channel to the receiver, and then the receiver decoding the message and sending written feedback within the specific time frame. That means sender of the communication, conceptualization of the ideas, then message being encoded, sent through the channel to the receiver, then receiver decoding the message and sending written feedback within the specific time frame. And effective communication is when the receiver understands the conveyed message by sender exactly as intended. So, there are 8 components of the communication process. The communication process involves several components. Those are, first one is the sender. The person or communicator delivering a message to a recipient. They start the conversation and develop the idea that they intend to convey the receiver. That means sender will send the message to the recipient with the ideas. Then next one is the encoding. The sender begins the encoding process when they use specific words or non-verbal techniques like symbols, signs or body language to transform the information into the message. And the sender knowledge, skill, background have a significant impact on the success of the message being understood correctly. So whatever you want to send the message, that message we have to encode and we have to transfer to them by using some symbols, by using some signs, then body language, and by using some skills, knowledge, everything we have to send the data to the recipient by encoding. Then next one is the message. This refers to the information the sender relays to the receiver once encoding is complete. The intended message may transmit in variety of formats such as verbal, written or non-verbal also. Message means just information. Your sender will send the information to the receiver, and receiver will receive that data. That means message may transmit in variety of the formats like verbal, written or non-verbal. Then next one, there are the channels of the communication. This is the transmission or medium used to deliver the message from sender to the receiver. And it's very important that the sender select the channel of the communication carefully so the message is effective and the receiver interprets it correctly. And the sender may decide on the transmission method based on their interpersonal relationship with the receiver on the message urgency. Then verbal, visual and written are a few most commonly used channel of the communication. Here sender has to decide for sending the message which medium is very important. So here medium is also very important because by using that medium that sender will send the message very effectively and it will help to receiver interprets the correctly. Then next one is the decoding performed by the receiver. This refers to how they interpret the message, and effective communication occurs when the receiver decodes and understand the message exactly the way sender the intends. The degree to which recipient decodes the message depends on different factors such as their knowledge, experience and the relationship with the sender. So decoding will explain that about how they interpret the message. Effective communication generally occur only when the receiver decodes and they will understand the message exactly the way sender intends. Then receiver. Receiver is the intended recipient of the transmitted message from the sender and their intention is to comprehend the message to the best of their ability. Then next one is the noise. The final element of the communication process, that is noise, comprises the barriers to the communication. The sometimes recipient may not receive the messages from the senders or they are delivered incorrectly. The final element of the communication process is that the noise, and noise is that barriers at the time of the communication. That means we can say sometimes recipient may not receive the message whatever the sender is saying, and sometimes if they will receive also, that message will receive incorrectly. Then after that the feedback. Feedback ensures the receiver receives and interprets the message correctly. That means feedback will increase the effectiveness of the communication process as it allows the sender to know their message efficacy. The receiver's feedback or response to the sender may be verbal or non-verbal also. So feedback also start an interaction and continuation of the communication process. Feedback is a very important, and with the help of the feedback we can understand that we can get to know about the receivers. Receive the message, they interpret the message correctly, and generally feedback will increase the effectiveness of the communication process, and again it will allow the sender to know about the message efficacy. Sometimes sometimes response to the sender may be verbal or non-verbal also. It depends, and it depends on the situation. Now we will see the difference between the verbal and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication, it exchange of the information by the words, and non-verbal exchange of information by wordless clues. Then after that, in verbal communication, it has a less chance of confusion. That means while talking, we can clear our ideas. So there will be no chance of the confusion. But non-verbal high chance of the confusion. There will be the high chance of the confusion. In verbal communication, it is easy to understand, and non-verbal communication, it is difficult to understand. Verbal communication, it is highly structured and formal, and in non-verbal, it lacks structure and highly informal. Then again, the last point of the verbal communication is that the presence of two persons is not necessary. But in non-verbal communication, the presence of two persons are necessary. So this is about the difference between the verbal communication and the non-verbal communication. Now there are verbal communication skills, while effective speaking and the listening. First one is the effective speaking. The effective speaking requires careful consideration of the words you choose and how you pronounce them, how you reinforce them with non-verbal gesture. Then after that, all of these variables influence how your message is conveyed and received by your audience. It's important to think about the words you use carefully even when describing the same issue. You will most likely need to use various terms in the different settings. And what you say to close colleague, for example, will be considerably different from how you present a topic at large conference. So, effective speaking is very important. If you will speak very effectively, that means here you have to pronounce clearly. It will observe, it will explain how you are reinforcing by using the non-verbal gesture. Then second one is the listening. Listening actively is a valuable talent. When we communicate, we tend to spend significantly more time planning what we will say than listening to the other person. And for effective verbal communication, effective listening is also essential. There are a lot of things you may do to improve your listening skill. So this is all about the 7c's communication we have seen. These are the references, so you can go through this. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.